Come on. Hi, it's Carol and Gay.
Gay and Carol.
We're going to go through the 5 crucial things that when we were looking for a pre-owned caravan that were really important to us.
Yeah. And at the end, just a couple little extras on top.
Bonus.
I couldn't hear that.
Bonus. You can start.
Oh, that's it. So we're getting straight into it apparently. Alright, so the first thing, what was the first thing again? Oh yes, the first thing was independent suspension. Independent suspension will generally mean that it's off-road. We were looking for something that we could go off-road. Not through rivers, but off-road. Mostly because when we're going in the outback, there are quite often dirt roads, and these dirt roads can be corrugated, and I figured that the independent suspension will work better. Independent suspension also means that it probably is suited to off-road, and we do have a lot more clearance at the back of the van. So when we have gone through some gutters and driveways where there has been, I can only think it would be for when they get lots of rain, where the water can flow off easier. So the canver on the road, it goes from quite high to quite low, and when you're coming in and out of some of these drives, it can bottom out, I suppose. Where the tow ball sits can sometimes bottom out, but mostly at the back end you can also scrape that as well, whereas we don't have that problem. We could probably take it in a little bit of four-wheel driving. I wouldn't go like, you know, advanced four-wheel driving. We could take it into a few tracks. I would be quite comfortable with that, but mostly it was for being on corrugated roads like the Birdsville track is what I based it on.
Peace of mind. Number 2. That's me. Is it? Yes. So number 2 was size. Does matter. Size matters because we didn't want anything too big. So with size comes weight. We've got to carry us in it, so we needed to make sure it was lighter. No, we just wanted to make sure it was under the 2 ton. We didn't want to weigh too much. We didn't want to tow anything too heavy for us. So we made sure it was under the 2 ton. And a bit of my thing as the main driver of the van, I only wanted a single axle. Fine with driving a dual axle, but I just figured a single axle will do us fine. So that was a bit of a priority. Underweight, under 2 ton. The size, we thought, when I rang up for the first, because we're novices with caravans, and we rang up and put it into a caravan park, and I was on the phone and Gay was in the room with me and I was booking it in, and I'm like, it comes in at whatever measurement. And they're like, is that including the A-frame? And I look at Gay and I go, is that including the A-frame? She's like, yeah. Turns out Gay's got no idea with measurements, so I booked into 2 caravan parks. Then I said to her, maybe we should just measure it for peace of mind. Gay's like, yeah. So we went out and measured it from the start of the A-frame to where the bag is on the back wheel, and I think we're about 2 metres out. So Gay's
The spare
perception,
wheel at the back.
the spare wheel with the bag that hangs on the spare wheel. Gay's perception was just a touch off, so size does matter. The van itself is probably bigger than what we even thought it was, but it's perfect for us.
Number 3 was all about price. The price we had a budget that we were working towards. Now, when we originally set out looking for a new van, we were going to buy a new one, and we were going to have all the whistles and bells and all sorts of things. And then we sat down and thought about it and went, this is our budget. So we budgeted it up to $20,000. We didn't want to spend too much on it, so something that we could buy and pretty much like use the first time, which I think is what we did. We got it home, and I think, was it a week or 2 later, we went away for a night. Yeah, just to test it out. So we went away for a night to test it out and to keep things fresh in our head, because we'd had the walk around of how to use everything. And it was a good idea then to go out, test it out, see how we felt, see how it drove, see all those sorts of things.
Yeah, to tow it and everything like that. We towed it home, and it was a good hour's trip home.
Yeah.
But to take it out camping, load it up, put water in it, put some of our stuff in it and everything like that. Yeah, to feel the
So to
pull.
test it all out. But yeah, so we had the budget of $20,000. Now, I've seen since where people have bought a new van, and it could be from any manufacturer, say that they're spending maybe $200,000 on a new van, and that's got all the whistles and bells and everything need on it.
Can I just interrupt? Talking of bells, if you want to notify when we do a live or a video, just give the bell a bit of a push and then you'll get notification. Go on, sorry.
So people buy them, and let's say that they spend $200,000 with all the whistles and bells, and then due to circumstances or what have you, maybe they've done their trip, maybe something happens, or it's just not suited to them, they go and sell it. Unlike a few years ago where things were selling pretty much on par, so a used van was probably selling for as much as a new van because of the time frame. Now it's not necessarily like that. The prices have dropped, so I think they were selling a brand new van that they hadn't even used, paid $200,000 for, and were selling it for $150,000. So I think with a $20,000 van, I figured that at least if we sold it,
if it didn't suit our needs, especially,
yeah, if in any market, we would be able to recoup most of our money back, if not all of our money back.
Which is
that was my thinking behind.
Yeah,
not that
right.
It was an investment for making money, but it was an investment for the return on investment, I suppose.
Basically, at the end of the day, was if it didn't suit it, we weren't going to lose money. And if it does suit further down the track, if we do decide to upgrade or change something, we're still not going to lose a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Number 4 was the bed. So it's a funny one because we wanted to make sure we had a double bed, and it's not because of getting up to nookie and stuff like that. It was more, it's something that we like. It's something that it's us, I suppose, is the best way to put it. So
I'll tell the story that one of the first times that we went camping in the high country, the very first time we went camping in the high country, it was a beautiful day. It was 25 degrees. You could have gone for a swim in the freshwater river. It was magnificent. And then during the night, that temperature, the change came through, and
the arse dropped out of the temperature.
Oh my goodness, it was bloody cold. And at the time I had my sleeping bag and a blow-up mattress, and you had a
sleeping bag and a blow-up mattress.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if one of us might have had a doona, but yeah, we had each of that. It was bloody cold sleeping in separate beds,
and also on the floor. So there's all those factors.
So the obviously the cool was coming up from the ground as well. Yes, we started off sleeping in the, what would you say, the nip, and
by the next day we had just about every layer of clothing on. I think one night I went to bed with a hoodie on. But it's not just that, it's also just part of who we are.
So obviously sleeping together keeps us
well, you've got more body heat, yes. Yeah. We can use hot water bottles as well, which we can share. But also one of our other factors is usually between 4 and 5 in the morning, Toby likes to hop on the bed. It's something that we do at home, and he used to sleep in the camper trailer on the bed with us all the time, whereas with the Caravan, which Gay will get to, Toby has his place, but he's allowed on the bed about 5 o'clock in the morning, unless I can't read the time and he's on whenever. So it also gives him space instead of trying to he'd fit on a single bed, don't worry. But yeah, this is just what suits us. Sorry, I knocked her breast. Anyway, on to number 5.
Number 5 is, we originally did start this search when we had Inky as well. So it changed a little bit once we lost Inky. So for Toby, it was to have somewhere where he could sleep. And we went with the L-shaped lounge, which is our preferred preference rather than a cafe one. So we had an L-shaped lounge, and we figured that we could make that, drop the table, and make that into a little bed for him.
And I got Bob in. She built a little step so we can put his cushion up against it and stop it sliding off.
It's a little support for the table. Yeah, so I think there's no complaints from him. He gets around quite well now that he's used to it.
Yeah, it took him a little while to get used to just his confidence with the van, but now he's quite, he's got used to it a bit better. So
he's got his blanket, he's got his sleeping bag, and then he's got his doona. So he's more than comfortable enough until like about 5 o'clock in the morning when it's his norm to go. I'll go and sleep up with the mummies.
Yeah, not like wrapped up mummies. That'd be weird. Warm though.
Extras. What we got. So we ticked all those boxes. Tick, 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 tick.
And we did a lot of research on looking around at different vans too, and value for money. Yeah,
so obviously what we ended up with, we've got diesel heating. Yes.
That was a bonus. That came with it. We didn't know. We'd heard a lot of people speak about diesel heating, but we didn't know how it would work. and I think one of our first camping trips, I've already been doing this, you've missed it. You'll see it when you watch it back. One of our first camping trips we did up in Dalesford in winter, so in May. Not one of the first, but one times we used it. I think it was like the third time we used it.
Yeah.
And we put the diesel heating on probably about 15 minutes before we went in. My goodness, it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've spoken about it if you've watched one of her other videos, is where the actual controller is. It's on Gay's side of the bed, but where her feet are, and I can literally sit up, reach over my bellies, because it's hard to fold an orange, and push the button on, and then we got heating. So, then it's like, warm, turn it off. So that was a real bonus for us. Yeah. Gee, it's good.
The other little thing was a pop top. We didn't necessarily go out looking for a pop top, but now that we've got it, we think it's a U-Butte thing that we do have. We can walk around on the inside when we don't have the roof up, and then obviously when the roof up, it's even better. So yeah, it works out well for quick setups if we want to keep the heat in. So
and it's good because we're both short.
Yeah, so that's worked out really, really well. Yeah.
And we didn't care for air conditioning or anything like that, because as soon as we knew we were getting a pop top, we didn't want that weight on the roof.
No.
For us.
Now, the other thing is I didn't want necessarily a shower and toilet, but...
I wanted a shower and a toilet. Gay wanted a shower and a toilet, but she wanted them to be separate, so we knew going with an older van that was never going to happen. So we sacrificed. That was probably our biggest sacrifice, or for me, I felt like it was my biggest sacrifice. Has it affected us? Hell no.
No.
So there's nothing wrong with a tree.
If it was going to be...
People don't mind when you're squatting behind a tree at a campsite. It's fine.
We've got a toilet, a composting toilet.
You're right, yes.
So, yeah, if it did come with a toilet, I would have preferred to have had a composting toilet, and I don't think vans at this age, many of them would have been composting, and so we would have had to obviously spend the money to
change
get it
over
up to speed. Yeah.
At the moment, our spend on it is so little, it's ridiculous. So
we had to lengthen the chains. That was one.
That's it at this stage.
Yeah,
I think that's our
much.
only modification at this stage. There's a few little things which we'll do a video on once we've finished our trip.
But how many vans did we look at? We looked at a fair few vans. We looked online in the normal places that you would look. And then we physically went out. We targeted a few and we physically went out and looked at quite a few of them. And there was a significant difference in the price that people were asking and the value that we were getting back from buying one. It was interesting to see. It's like buying a car, I suppose. You have to really look around at what you're getting and the value that you're getting back from it. So some of them needed to be have some repairs fixed. Some of them were bigger, but they were more expensive as well.
So I'll just add in on here. So this one, the one we got, I never saw. So we went out and did like a full day of just visiting people with caravans and stuff like that. Some were too small, some were probably a little bit dearer, around the same size, but weren't off-road. They needed work on them, as you were saying.
All of them were off-road.
All of them were off-road, my bad. But a lot of the other ones we looked at, one was far too small for our needs. But then some of them just didn't quite tick the boxes with, like, we would have had to have probably put another couple of grand at least into it.
Yeah.
As I said, I hadn't seen this one, but Gay compared all of them to this one because this was the first one she saw, and she goes, I just can't go past how neat this one is, how little has to be done. And it's proven that we've travelled in it, 3 times before we came away, and then we've been on the road for nearly 3 months, and we haven't really had a hiccup, touch wood.
It was a good idea to have a list to work to, and then to also look at the value that you're getting from other ones. So it did take a bit of research. There was even a lot of toing and froing and looking at stuff on the internet, sending back questions and things just to...
And researching.
Yeah, researching and all sorts of bits and pieces. I know a lot of people, when they're buying one, they join the Facebook groups and such of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And then they can find out a lot of information that they need from there as well. Yeah. But yeah, very happy. We didn't know much about Royal Flair before we bought one. Now we've got all the flair in the world.
And no name.
And no name still.
We'll get there.
You're doing product
No,
placement?
not at all.
You are.
I'm not.
You're wearing Amy Francis's top.
I am.
You mentioned that in the live.
Yeah, Amy Francis is... Yeah, I told Landy to have a look at her.
Yeah.
She's good. She goes off. Like a cracker.
Like a cracker, like a cocky.
Cocky. Anywho, moving on.
That's it, we're done. Any questions?
You know the rules. Put
Yes.
the comments in. We will answer them as soon as we can. I was going to say as soon as we see them, which is usually our return time's pretty quick.
Now, people have been missing our lives. We do live, and we answer a lot of people's questions on the lives. It's our little community that we like hanging out with. We do enjoy it. It can happen randomly alive. We don't ever schedule them out really much in advance.
We usually give a little bit of notice.
We attempt to. It depends if we've got internet or not. So, but people have been missing them. Don't forget to hit that little bell so you get all the notifications.
And make your comments. Give us a thumbs up. And thanks for watching.
Bye.
It's out.